Examples. I just borrowed in the euro credit market and I am going to pay, uh, let's call it SOFR plus 1%, 3 months SOFR plus 1%. I have to be specific. 3 months SOFR. What 3 months SOFR is, you take those published overnight rates and you compound them daily for the previous 91 business days. That gives you the 3 months SOFR. This means uh, if 3 months SOFR rates increase in the future, you will make how to hedge something like this. One is interest rate futures, which we're going to cover later. The other is do a series of forward agreements or a floating to fixed interest rate swap, which we're going to cover in chapter 14. I mean, if you have a long-term interest rate exposure like that, it's always better to do a swap because you do it in just one thing instead of, if it's a 10-year loan, instead of doing 40 different forward rate agreements, all you have to do is do one swap. But for now, suppose I'm just worried about my next payment or the payment after this. These payments are determined 3 months ahead of time. So I borrow today and I'm going to look at the 3 month SOFR rate right now. I'm just going to take the average of 52 of these. So you have not 52, 65, 13 weeks. Well, let's just do it this way. Current average is 434. So my next payment is going to be 434 plus 1, 534. That's an APR. So let's do current or times 5.34% divided by 4. 13,350,000 as my interest payments. Of course, if SOFR goes up by 1%, my second payment is going to go up by $2.5 million, something like that. All right. So you can do a forward rate agreement. Again, I'm not going to worry about the SOFR issues right now because they're backward looking rates. These are interest rates on loans that starts at a future date. Suppose I know 1 year from today, I'm going to need $1 million. I want to borrow $1 million, and I'm going to hold that for another year. And at the end of 2 years, I'm going to pay it back. Technically, it's a 1 year loan, but I don't get the money until next year. So what's the proper interest rate? The way we kind of think about that is kind of an arbitrage argument. There are two ways I can end up with $1 million 1 year from now. One is borrow that at the forward market. If the forward interest rate is F, I'm going to call this 1-1 or 1-2. The first one is the starting year, starting time. The second one is ending time. I will make a payment of times 1 plus F12, whatever that number is. Okay. Just for the sake of argument, let's say that number is 4%. And that means I'm going to make a payment of $1,040,000, right? There is an alternative way you could accomplish your goal. You could borrow now for 2 years, but you don't need the money for another year. So you invest that money you just borrowed for 1 year. Then after that, pull it back up and use it for whatever you want. Sometimes I call this poor man's money market, poor man's forward transaction. Alternative, borrow some amount at the 2-year rate for 2 years, invest that amount for the next year at the 1-year rate, and pay back at the end of 2 years. Now, I don't need to borrow $1 million right now. Why? Because whatever I borrow, I'm going to invest that for 1 year. So let's first figure out how much do I need to borrow. Well, that's present value of 1 million at the 1-year rate. So I need, and suppose 1-year rate is 4%, 2-year rate is 4.2%. So I need to borrow I'm going to call this R1. Okay. So in this specific example, 1 plus 4%,